You've landed on planet 412. I'll be your captain of sorts as we navigate this strange, cryptid-filled world. Join me on the quest for truth, through the strange, mysterious, and supernatural. This is Planet 412. And welcome to Planet 412. How's everybody doing tonight? It's good to see everybody here. I know everybody gets here a little later as we start. I'm super excited about the two people that we have here tonight. I know everybody is excited about Brett and Jill. They are very well known. And I just want to say hello to everybody that is in the chat real quick. Sugi, hello. Tammy, hey, how you doing? I haven't seen you in a while. Trovin, Giggles the Clown, how you guys doing? Karen Root is here. And I know a lot of other people are going to be showing up. So, I'm not going to waste any more time. So we are just going to bring Jill and Brett in, and we are going to get started. And without further ado, Brett and Jill, how are you guys doing tonight?
Doing great, Matt. Thanks.
Little under the weather tonight, Matt. But,
yeah, I was just going to say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, that's right. I'm better than I was yesterday, and tomorrow I'll be better than I am today. So, these things happen to all of us, right?
Yeah. Anybody who has not seen their post on Facebook, they just got back from a trip from Peru. If we'll get into that, if you guys, I don't know, Jill, if you'd like to take it for Brett, if you guys would just like to give a quick little intro for yourselves and say hi to everybody and let them know who you guys are real quick.
Sure. Brett, do you want to start off or should I?
Yeah, I'm happy to talk a little bit. So as the title says, my name is Brett Eichenberger, and I'm the director of both Flash of Beauty movies, a Flash of Beauty Bigfoot Revealed and a Flash of Beauty Paranormal Bigfoot. And we basically set out in 2020 to create what we thought would be and what we hope would be and what people have kind of told us what is like the quintessential Bigfoot documentary that really kind of encompasses both ideas, both camps. And if you're not familiar with it, in the Bigfoot realm, there is the apers and the woo. And we didn't want to leave anything out. We didn't want to skew any data, anything else. And so we've made both of these documentaries. And in full transparency, we've put all of the interviews, essentially the raw footage of the interviews, out on YouTube so that folks can watch the entire interviews, because we believe that Bigfoot is real. And we believe that the subjects and the people that we've interviewed are so compelling that we needed to share the entirety of their stories. So that's basically the gist of it. We're currently working on two more Bigfoot films concurrently. One is about the Native American experience, and then the other one is called Voices in the Wilderness. And I know many of you are familiar with Ron Morehead, and that chronicles, not just Ron Morehead's side of the story, but the other gentlemen that were at the camp, their side of the story, and that really hasn't been told yet. And so we're going to see a whole new side of these Sierra sounds. So we're really excited and really looking forward to getting those documentaries out. And I'll let you take it from here, Jill.
I think you summed most of it up. So I'm Jill. I am the writer and producer on both documentaries, not to mention the ones Brett just mentioned, A Flash of Beauty 3 and Ron Morehead's story, Voices in the Wilderness. So I'm kind of that behind the scenes person, mapping out the documentaries and the stories.
And everybody, I know everybody here obviously is more than aware of, what you guys have been doing at Resonance Productions. I obviously got in touch with you guys from, seeing a flash of beauty, and it just blew me away. And the things that have been going on since it came out has also been blowing me away. Can you tell me, obviously, since that has come out, I mean, can you guys even get to as many, I can't imagine the amount of people that have been reaching out to you guys about, experiences and sending you, I would imagine, a lot of proof of things that they have.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost a full-time job, managing all the emails that come in and connecting and following up with people. It's a little bit harder. We try to stay up on everyone on YouTube as much as we can. But yeah, we respond to all the emails. It may take us a while, but we do it. And one of the more challenging things that we face is there are a lot of people who want to connect and want to share their story, and it's just a matter of finding the best way to do that, and figuring out. And actually, Matt, I'll be honest, a lot of people, they want someone to talk to. They don't necessarily want to like come on the live stream or sit down for a formal interview, but they just, they see an interview or there's something in the documentary that they were able to connect with, and they just need to talk to someone and say, I experienced that. I saw that too. I understand. And usually that's it. That's just that little bit of closure they need.
That's obviously something, when I was a guest with you guys a few weeks ago, I had basically said to you as well, since, my experience and coming out, going on mass media, and different things and social media, the people that have reached out to me on Planet 412 and just on things like Facebook and Messenger and, like I had said to you guys, I plan to go into my grave. I'd never decided to ever say a word about these things, but because of you talking about them, because of the other types of things, and I just wanted to let you guys know I was saving it for tonight when I put up the live stream up on YouTube that we're going to be having this. I got 2 emails on Planet 412 from people that were super excited about this because they had said specifically that when they saw a flash of beauty, that they were experiencers and that they had never chosen to ever talk about it or, discuss it with anybody, and that they are basically getting to the point that they want to start talking about it.
Wow.
And I told them, I said, I know Brett and Jill very well. I said, would that be something that you guys might want to speak to them about? And they said, we believe that we would. Both of them, 2 different people, they don't know each other. And they said, if basically in a little different terms, that they would like to get in touch with you guys a little down the road, that they're still trying to get to that point. But I wanted to save that for tonight because I thought that was really pretty awesome that, they saw your film, and right with, where we have been talking about, that they see somebody else do it and bam, they want to do it. So I will, definitely give you guys their information when they're ready.
That's awesome, Matt.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And that's the whole point. I mean, we want to be advocates for those of you who are out there that are scared to talk about this stuff. And it's happening. You didn't imagine it. And the more that we talk about it, the more that we can start a conversation, the more that it starts getting into the mainstream, the more we can start accepting that, these things are real. And we take a lot of inspiration from what's going on in the world of UFOs right now, and the folks that are brave enough to come out and start talking about their experiences in that realm. And we're here to say that this isn't really any different. It's not, and as a matter of fact, we don't know if Bigfoot, dogmen, what have you, are from outer space. I mean, we don't know that. There's a lot of correlation to suggest that they could be in cahoots with the ETs. obviously some people say that we're the ETs, that we were genetically, made. It doesn't make a difference. What makes a difference is talking about it, discussing it. And what's really cool is Jill and I have gotten to know some health folks out there, some counselors, some people in the mental health realm that are working with folks who have had these traumatic experiences, who have experienced these things, who know that they're real. And that's a growing field as well. People are finally being able to get the kind of treatment that they need. And that's really important.
I just want to add to that. That was so eye-opening, Matt, when we were approached by some mental health professionals who were putting on a conference, because a lot of people in that space are being approached by people who've had encounters and don't know how to process it. A little bit of what we talk about in A Flash of Beauty, Bigfoot Revealed, when Dr. Michael Adams talks about how the brain like files things away and represses stuff. So it just, I mean, these are like cracks in the surface, of this is in the main, how do I say this? It's what Dr. Simeon Hines says with hidden events. These experiences are happening in the mainstream, but no one's talking about them. And the more we talk about it, the more we remove the stigma. Oh, I have it right here. Our little slogan, the paranormal is normal. We're just trying to make it a normal conversation.
I love it. And how much does that really say about how things are changing in 2025 and for the future, when mental health professionals are getting involved in supernatural, paranormal, cryptid events? That's a really huge step for people. And if, people are afraid, I mean, my God, all you have to do is show something like that as well.
Well, here's something cool, Matt. Guess what? Mental health folks, counselors, whatever, they have experiences too, and
Right.
They need to talk about it. You know what I mean? This isn't regulated to just certain types of people, to kids, to adults. It's not. I mean, this phenomenon doesn't choose a certain type of demographic by any stretch. Doesn't matter who you are, and that goes for folks around the world. It's like the story about the Amazonian tribe, and somebody tried to talk to them about ETs and aliens, and they had no idea what they were talking about. And they pulled out a picture of a gray, and they had a name for it, and they knew what it was. You know what I mean? So it's the phenomena has touched all of our lives, and like Dr. Michael Adams says, there's a number of us out there that have experienced something so traumatic and so profound that we have, what's the word that he uses, Jill? Subdued it, or we've locked it away so much so that we can't recall it. So there could be folks out there, any number of people out there could have had a traumatic experience, whether it was alien abduction, a dogman sighting, a Bigfoot sighting, and it was so horrible to them, regardless of whether the experience was benevolent or malevolent, that they pushed it away.
I just want to say this too, as well. You mentioned, not only mental health professionals and all that, you get into the other side of, supernatural paranormal, you go to doctors and hospitals. I mean, I have a video I did recently about a nurse who, with another nurse, had a paranormal experience where a patient died and they were basically taken over by an entity, and they've seen, shadow people. Basically, people have said they think that they've seen the angel of death multiple times in hospitals. So I mean, so many different types have been touched by these things. So I love that you said that not just, regular people are touched, with professionals as well.
Yeah. They're not immune. There's no question about it.
you had just said something I was going to ask. Obviously everybody knows what you guys are famous for, getting involved with Bigfoot, but I was going to ask, what else are you guys getting involved with? You mentioned, with the UFOs. What is your thought on the newer kind of, I'm going to use the word again, thoughts out there about that they're not really maybe coming from out in the galaxy or the and I have to say unknown universe, because I hate when people say known universe, because we don't. That they're coming from other dimensions. What are you guys' opinions on that?
I think all theories are valid until proven otherwise.
Right.
Now, some are more probable than others, but prove me wrong.
So what? Go ahead, Brett. I'm sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, I think it makes perfect sense, and I think that if having just traveled to South America last week, and I think about this all the time. The length of time that it took for us to get from Portland, Oregon, down to Lima, Peru, and to Cusco and whatnot. You realize how big the planet Earth is, and I think that sometimes, in our own towns, our own cities, our own states, our own country, even, we sometimes forget about the scale of the planet that we live on, and we can all remember the famous pictures of the globe, the Earth, from science class when we were a kid and stuff like that. And then we kind of recall that thought of, well, maybe it's not that big, because we can visualize the whole entire thing. But the fact of the matter is, we're just looking at the surface of planet Earth, and planet Earth is 72% water.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And if these things are as advanced as we know they are, and we do know that they're that advanced, then they're living underwater. They're living in the Earth's crust, maybe even the Earth's mantle. You think about all of the space within the Earth, and if they have the technology, like people see UFOs flying directly into volcanoes, so they can get away from the heat. These things are non-factors. Henry Franzoni talks about how Bigfoot live underground. So, the thing about it is that, yeah, they may not be coming from other dimensions. Let me rephrase that. They may be coming from other dimensions and from underneath the planet Earth and from the stars and from within the moon. You know what I mean? I think that it's just your imagination really can go anywhere as far as where these things are coming from and how they're getting here.
I do think it does come down to frequency, vibration, and that ability to shift interdimensionally or transdimensionally, from here to there. Henry talks about that. Dr. Simeon Hine talks about that. I mean, even Ron Morehead talks about that in the Quantum Bigfoot. It's all about frequency.
I 100% agree. The vibrations and frequency. I believe that the night me and my friends had our experience, right before it started, we were all kind of zoning out, staring at the fire. I've said this many times, and I think we've all done it before. You kind of stare at a fire and you just, like I said, zone out. And I just think we kind of slipped into the same kind of vibrational, again, frequency, or that veil kind of just passed right in there where we were, and we were right at the same space as that thing was, and everything was perfect for that event to occur. I love where you guys are going with this right now. I had Preston Dennett on last year. I don't know if you guys are aware of who Preston is. If you don't, you should look him up. He's one of the most well-known UFO USO professionals out there. The guy is just he is unbelievable with his wealth of information. He's on tons of TV shows, and I'll get you guys actually his information after this. Trust me, you want to talk to him. We talked about the USOs, with what's going on with that. How many people have seen these UAPs, UFOs go into the water? I'm sure you guys have heard about the new kind of thought out there, or maybe you haven't, about in the Bermuda Triangle, how they believe that there is a artificial intelligence run huge base, alien base underneath that moves certain I don't know how far it moves, but they said they know now, like the governments know, it moves certain amount of points on the map. And whenever it moves to those, if any planes or boats have come into that area that this thing has been in, it's zapped them. And that's why these places or these planes and people have disappeared. And the other thing that they're saying, supposedly what's going on with it, is that this AI run base is putting together these UFOs that are not being run by any live creatures or intelligence. It's all being run by an AI. It puts them together for whatever use it needs to be put out there. Say it needs to send it out to find specific types of elements or whatever. It goes out, it does its job, it comes back, it lands, it takes it apart and reuses those parts for that.
Wow.
And then you guys touched on the moon, which I 100% believe that, that theory about it being, hollow and being utilized as a satellite. I mean, come on. We've heard all these astronauts talk about things are up there. We see the pictures of the telescopes was up there. What are your beliefs on those things?
Well, we spent 10 hours with Tim Coonbo Baker. So we got an earful. So
former NASA, sorry, it's the Peru flu. Former NASA mission control. Tim knew a lot. Sorry, Jill, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I was just saying that we've heard a lot. I mean, again, have I been to the moon? No.
Not that you know of.
Not that I know of, but again, I think
there's been some times when I'm like, to the moon, Jill. No, sorry. Honeymooners reference.
So I think again, there's a lot of theories, and they're all on the table until we can disprove and nail one down. And I mean, there's a few compelling ones out there. Yeah.
I think my whole theory is that humanity, we're all toddlers. We have no business running ourselves, taking care of ourselves. We're doing silly things constantly. And when mankind invented nuclear weapons, it was the equivalent of mom and dad walking into the room to find the 4 or 5-year-old playing with matches. He had no concept, no idea that little flame, that little match, or a lighter, or whatever you want to call it, no concept that could burn down the house and or the neighborhood. And because you aren't conditioned to think that way. And I feel like humanity is in that same mind frame right now. And I think that that's when the aliens were like, whoa, hold on, they weren't supposed to stumble upon that stuff. They could destroy themselves, kill themselves, and wipe out a planet Earth that belongs to all civilizations, not just humans. Especially when you start getting into the idea of whales, dolphins, other mammals, monkeys, all of these other animals that we're starting to believe that might be sentient beings. We're even finding this out about plants.
I agree.
And so the ETs were like, all right, this is where it stops. There's proof. There's more than enough proof to show that they've disarmed nuclear weapons and that they've probably stopped nuclear wars. And now we've got this situation, regardless of what side you're on, politically speaking, we've got a situation where our Earth, we haven't done the best job taking care of it.
No.
And I'm not, and that goes for us, that goes for, industrial nations overseas. It doesn't matter where you're at, but we've done a lot of damage to it. And I feel like this is kind of what's going to usher in, disclosure. Is they're finally going to hit like pause, and they're going to come down and they're going to be, okay, the parents are back. You guys were teenagers. You threw your party when we were out of town and you destroyed the house. and things are going to be a little bit different. And oh, by the way, you've become selfish. You've become addicted to junk food and garbage, and we're going to help you find your way back to the spiritual being that you are. You know what I mean? And we're going to help you connect with nature. We're going to help you connect and frankly live more like the way that Jill and I have learned about how Bigfoot lives, about how Sasquatch lives, is pure human.
And
Anyways, I'll get off my soapbox.
then they're going to say, by the way, here's your hybrid brother and sister.
Yeah.
And then it's like, they're like, oh, my neighbors down the street, they were aliens all along.
Yeah.
And we'll wrap it up like a 30-minute sitcom.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
won't be that easy.
That would be wild. You brought up something that, you know, obviously could happen in a heartbeat. You know, I saw something just yesterday. I forget his name already, and everybody should know what a Russian gentleman that was in the army who had basically saved the world when Russia had the false warhead warning, and he figured it out. He basically stopped World War III. You look at Mars. We've seen some of the pictures of the things on the surface. It looks like there's, you know, equipment like guns and helmets and things. What is your guys' thoughts about that? Possibly that's where our ancestors were before, and there quite possibly was a nuclear disaster there, and we're redoing ourselves here.
You know, a long time ago, I read a story many of you are probably familiar with. There was a kid in, I believe it was Russia, maybe even the Soviet Union at the time, who, and I'm somebody that believes in reincarnation. I feel like reincarnation is a situation where, you know, when we die, not all of us reincarnate. It's complicated. I won't get into it too much, but I kind of believe that sometimes we slip through the cracks with our memories. You know what I mean? And like we need some sort of process didn't occur to where we weren't, the hard drive wasn't wiped clean, if you will, but the spirit stayed intact. And there's very famous examples about that. There's a mini series on Netflix I highly recommend called Surviving Death. If you want to know more about the subject matter, it's based on a book. I can't recommend it enough. But anyways, there's a young boy in Russia who had alarming details about Mars and things that he should never have known, you know, about the atmosphere, about the planet, about the terra firma, you know, on and on, so on and so forth. And he had alarming details about a past civilization on Mars. And, you know, and I don't believe for one second that God makes mistakes. So, you know, and I talked about how just now I said reincarnation. Well, sometimes you slip through. Intentional. You know, I think God gives us hints. And I know that, you know, if you don't have to be a religious person, but if you're a spiritual person, you will see those like road signs on life's journey. And I think that this might have been a circumstance where this young boy had this knowledge and contributed this knowledge because he was allowed to, you know. And then just one more thought after this. I read the other day that someone was talking about that, you know, civilization like what we have now with, you know, billions and billions of cars and buildings and concrete and everything all over civilization, all over Earth, that if a global catastrophe were to happen, you know, 1,000 years from now, there just wouldn't be that much stuff left. You know, you might have some tall skyscrapers akin to the you know, pyramids of Egypt and, you know, like what we just saw, Machu Picchu in Peru and some of these different things. But I think Mars is the same way. I think whatever occurred there on Mars probably destroyed it permanently. And it probably didn't take that long for Mars to reclaim its own, you know, and start burying and start hiding these things. But there was just enough left that we've seen in these NASA photos and whatnot to suggest that there was something there. Oh, and one last thing. The human body clock is actually regulated to 25 hours instead of 24.
Is
And
that right?
Mars's day is 25 hours long.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Oh my
There's
God.
that.
That says a lot.
So maybe we're evolving to adapt to life
Yeah.
on Mars.
Yeah.
Just putting a different spin on it.
Well, I mean, obviously there's a lot of plans to go back there and repopulate, so
Uh-huh.
I believe we have been in space for a while. They are obviously hiding so much from us. The TR3Bs, the triangle UFOs with the 3 light dots, that's ours. That's everybody needs to realize that that's
Yeah.
not a UFO. That's Earth's UFOs or UAPs. They're not unmanned. In fact, they're manned. So we're out there, and we've been out there for a while. Just like they've said, the government has 100 years on us in technology. Easily believed. I mean, you
Yeah.
just look back to Roswell, that really happened. I mean, the day, look at the newspaper, the first newspaper that came out, and then the day after, oh, it was just a weather balloon. Forget it, everybody. Right.
Really? Like the military is that stupid?
They were back then, and people
Like,
believed the government back then.
Like they didn't know immediately what a weather balloon looked like. Like we're supposed to believe this, and people do. I mean, it's crazy.
It really is. What can we look forward to in the future for you guys getting on this new subject? Or do you guys not want to let things slip?
Jill.
Well, I mean, we are, like Brett mentioned in the introduction, we are working on A Flash of Beauty 3, which focuses solely on the Native American perspective and oral traditions surrounding Bigfoot. And we're also working on Voices in the Wilderness, based on Ron Morehead's experiences at the Sierra Camp. But there's always something kind of on the sidelines, I guess you could say. There's ideas come and go. We're approached about things, and you just never know what might happen. But we always continue to look for people to sit down with and share their stories, and find ways to move the conversation. And let's find ways to expand upon it and open it up, where like people are talking about having Bigfoot encounters the same time they're experiencing lights in the sky or in the forest. Let's connect the dots. And that's what we're trying to do.
Okay. So what I must have misunderstood. So what I was referring to was the UFO. I thought maybe there was something on the burner for UFOs down the road.
Oh, I'd love that.
Maybe. There's nothing concrete.
Okay.
The thing about it though that's kind of funny is that when we first started doing A Flash of Beauty, we went out. We were going to do a documentary about the pillars of the paranormal: ghosts, UFOs, and Bigfoot.
Oh wow!
Sounds like a T-shirt, but it's
Sounds
because
awesome.
we're like we got to do all this stuff. And what we quickly realized was that was just too much. There's just too much going on. And prior to making the decision to just go with Bigfoot, we went out to a ranch in Eastern Oregon, in a little town called Brothers, which literally is a cafe diner that shut down. And we went out to this ranch where there was a mutilated cow. And we interviewed the ranch owner, we interviewed the ranch hand, and we shot a short film that we've been so busy. We have not, it's like 4 or 5 years ago. We still have not edited it together, which is embarrassing. But that was super fascinating, super fascinating. And that, it was really interesting to interview these guys. The ranch hand found it. It was 10 miles away from the nearest highway. It was down an extremely bumpy, extremely rugged dirt road. You're talking about, you're 75 miles to the nearest police station. These people don't call the cops. They help each other out. This is some of the most rural portions of the United States out here in extreme Eastern Oregon. And the ranch hand found the cow and immediately became sick. It's the classic mutilation story where the sex organs, the eyeballs, the tongue, everything was taken out with precision. There wasn't a drop of blood. There were no footprints. There were no tire tracks. And the rancher, bless this guy's heart, he believed that it was some sort of satanic cult or something. And I think that was out of fear, because he had to have known better, that a satanic cult, number one, wouldn't have risked breaking their car on this dusty, treacherous. We took a SUV out there. They wouldn't have risked breaking down out there when they could have much easier, they could have harvested these things from a cow much easier, much closer to home. So we can rule them out. And then military wise, it's like, well, there were no signs of like rotor wash from a helicopter or something, so you literally, like, the most rational explanation was aliens, because you put all of these things together and you're like, what else could have done this, and why would it have done this? And it just kept coming back to aliens. But anyways, that was fascinating. So I mean, look, first and foremost, we're storytellers, and we want to tell good stories, and we wanted to tell stories to enrich the lives of others and help us understand and demystify this mysterious universe. So yeah, to answer your question, Matt, UFO stuff might be in the future. And, spoiler alert, we also really, really, really want to do your story too, because your story is incredible. So, that's, fingers crossed, that's our 2026, my friend.
Well, I would love to work with you guys. Obviously, we've spoken about this before. So obviously, spoiler alert, that's definitely something down the road that I would love to do as well.
Yeah.
And I wasn't, I want to say, I hope I wasn't trying to slight what you guys have on the burner right now.
Sure.
We were obviously on that subject. I just was trying to see there, but going back to what you guys are doing, I know Ron very well. We had spoken about this when I was a guest, which I'm still super honored to have been a guest on your guys' show. Ron, obviously the OG, just an amazing guy. Who do you go to other than him for, that kind of proof on things? I mean, just what he did back then was untouchable. I mean, just absolute proof, just like, what was done, with, oh boy, I just went blank with the original picture of the female Bigfoot. What was her name again?
Oh, Patty.
Yeah, right.
Gimlin film. Yeah.
Right. I mean, right there, that is 100% proof. Anybody that doubts that film, of that being real, and people saying that that's somebody in a suit, is just, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be rude, but it's idiotic. You can see muscles moving, that the picture's been enhanced. You can see the breasts moving and everything. Just what Ron's done. I had him on Planet 412, and it's just amazing. I can't wait. How was it, working with Ron? I mean, he's just incredible, obviously.
Oh, he's a character.
He is.
It's always a good time with Ron.
Right.
What's different about what we're doing is we're bringing in new voices. Like a lot of people are familiar with Ron's story, but if you've read Voices in the Wilderness, there were other people up at the camp. And so we got some of the original camp attendees on camera for the first time, telling their stories and basically corroborating everything Ron said, and then some.
Yeah, the important thing is that, you know, Ron wasn't there all of the times that these voices came out. Ron, you know, came into this situation very early on, but you know, these guys were hearing voices and hearing all kinds of strange things, and their wives were freaked out. So they asked Ron to go up there and check on them. And there were many other times when, you know, I mean, this was an active an active hunting camp, and it still is to this very day. You know, the Johnson family still uses it. It's
Way out there.
It's
Way.
we went up there.
Can vouch for it.
Yeah, we went up there.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I would definitely caution anybody from ever. I mean, first and foremost, it's a secret location, but I don't try and find it. It's not worth it. You know, you could get hurt. You could, you know, so many different things could happen to you. We went up with one of the members of the Johnson family who knew how to get up there, and you know, you might as well have been in Alaska or anything else. It's very dangerous. And we had multiple people take us up there on horseback and mules, and people who were ready for the terrain and whatnot. It's not for the faint-hearted. And we're Oregonians, so we're kind of tough to this stuff. You know what I mean? But back to Ron and the camp. Yeah, I mean, the thing about it is these other men, for a myriad of reasons, didn't talk about these experiences. They were huge players in their community, you know, respected men in their churches and businessmen and whatnot. And Ron had a little bit more of an insatiable thirst to find out the mystery and to try and solve this mystery. And Ron put, you know, so much time and energy and money into bringing these things to science. And, you know, obviously science wasn't ready for it then, and it's not really ready for it now, although it's more ready for it now than it was before. We're making strides. And that's what we hope to do with this documentary, where we hope to say, hey, look, not only did Ron experience these things in real life, but all of these other guys experienced these things. Mm-hmm. And when people hear these interviews and see these men and hear their testimony, I guarantee you they're not going to question them. You know what I mean? These are like the men. These are like Cary Grant types, like the old-fashioned, like, gentleman types that tell you the truth 100%, whether you like it or not. You know what I mean? They're not making up anything.
Shooting cowboys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're not messing around. They're just going to tell you how it is.
Why would they lie?
Exactly.
Yeah. What's there to gain?
They have nothing to gain. They don't want anything from it. And they're getting to the point right now where, you know, they're kind of in the sunset of their lives, and they realize that it's important to talk about this stuff. It's important to get this out there. And some of the things that they have to say, Ron has never talked about, you know, so it's just going to open up the story that much more. And there's going to be a lot of new information that I think is only going to bolster the evidence and bolster the fact that what they have on tape could be some of the most important recordings in human history. And I don't say that lightly.
That is awesome. I cannot wait for it. I mean, obviously everybody here listening to that, the fact that they just dropped that you're going to hear stuff that Ron's never talked about, that is all you need to say about it.
Yeah.
You know, what was really exciting about what he talked about, you know, was he also saw, you know, he said like a lightsaber going through the camp as well, which is, you know, you're getting into paranormal as well, which ties to the Bigfoot, you know, people saying they see balls of light in their hands and things like that. Some people saying that, you know, Bigfoot can actually possibly be, again, aliens wearing, you know, an actual like live biological spacesuit. That's what they're wearing. Who knows? But definitely tied to something supernatural. They have a way to blink out, or do the alien, or not alien, the predator cloak, which you guys have on the Flash of Beauty. Is I saw with my buddy, the arm of the dog man we saw happen. So these things have abilities that if something's going on, it's interdimensional, or something is wild going on there, and the connection, it would be really, amazing to find out, just a little more, just to see what's going on there.
Jill.
Yes.
You're so quiet.
No, I mean, I don't know if I'm supposed to talk about this or not. Brett, when we were up at the Sierra camp, are we talking about the stuff we recorded or the stuff we heard? Is that?
We'll talk about this one thing because it's not really going to be in the movie, but
Sure. Well, no, I just meant, yeah. I mean,
there's obviously there's things we got to keep quiet till the movie comes out. We got to be
Right.
good. But on two separate occasions, when Jill and I were at the Sierra camp, we were up. So at the Sierra camp, it was myself, Jill, Tobe Johnson, Michael Ferry, cinematographer, and David Johnson, who is the son of Warren Johnson, who was one of the original camp members, and the nephew of Lewis Johnson, and the brother of Larry Johnson. So Larry was a much older brother than him. And Lewis, Larry, and Warren they'd all been coming to that camp since like the 1950s. Ron Morehead first appeared at the camp in 1971. So they have a long history there. But what I was going to say is that Jill and I, on two separate occasions, both of us saw what we believed to be portals.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
We try, and all of us out there, it's so important for us to be skeptics. It's so important for us to try and debunk. It's so important for us to use logic and reason and try and rationalize things. But one thing we should not do under any circumstances is immediately dismiss things, because that's being closed-minded. You never want to dismiss something. A weird light in the sky, whatever it is, go through that process in your brain and think through it. Could it be this? Could it be this? Could it be this? Could it be this? And pretty soon you might start running out of, explanations, or you crack the code. And in this particular circumstance, I'll let Jill kind of finish the story and I can catch back in. But this was one of those circumstances where we couldn't really debunk it.
And like Brett said, I had my experience separately from what Brett saw, his image. I was actually away from the camp on a hike with Tobe and David, and we'd all kind of three split up somewhat, and there was kind of this clearing, and I kept thinking, like, gosh, it's almost like a stage. It just seemed like something was ready to happen there. And there were a couple trees, almost like there was a pathway. And between the trees, it looked like a mirage, like a shimmery type mirage. And I was staring at it and I was like, well, that's weird because it's in the shade. It's not like I was going through all the rationale. I'm like, well, why am I not seeing that here, or over here? Where, based on where the sun is hitting, blah, blah, blah. Because this was kind of in a shaded area. And I was like, I don't think that should be there. And I'll tell you what, I felt so called. I wanted to go up and touch it. It was probably about, I don't know, 25, 30 yards away. And I'm just staring at it and I'm like, I just want to go up and touch it. And I was like, nope, missing 411.
I was just gonna say that. Oh my God. That's hilarious.
And I could kind of hear like, it's a trap. And so I took a photo. I took multiple photos. It doesn't show up in the photos.
That's weird.
So I'm looking at it with my eye and I can see it. I'm taking photos. I'm like, maybe, I don't know. Maybe I need to do more intense photo investigation with it. But I explained to Tobe and David what I saw. And they're like, okay, you know, they didn't see it. And then Brett, you can share your sighting.
Yeah. So we're riding out of camp and we're about the halfway mark. And, you know, our, excuse me, our train of horses, you know, we've got 5 horses and 5 mules, and we're separated by 2 or 3 horse lengths. And I look over to my left up towards the ridges of the mountains, and I see what I immediately think is a mirage. And then I'm like, there's 2 times you can see a mirage, when it's really hot or when it's really cold. And when it's really cold, it typically is like a heat source coming up into the cold, you know. So you would see that more likely in an urban environment or something like that. And I looked over, and so I see this mirage. It happened to be, I think, probably in the mid 50s at the time. So I immediately ruled out, you know, the urban kind of heat coming up off the ground. And I immediately ruled out the heat of the day, you know, because I've spent enough time in the desert, enough time outdoors to know that a mirage wouldn't form like that. And typically you'll see mirages over hotter surfaces like blacktop and whatnot. And the more I looked at it, it had this rainbow effect, and it was like shimmering. It was like, and Jill, I think Jill said it best when she described it as it looked like oil on water, like
gasoline in a puddle.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, if you've been to a lake or a river or something like that, and you've seen that sheen.
Yes.
It was kind of rainbowy, kind of a sheen. And that's exactly what it looked like. It looked like this colorful rainbow kind of a sheen, and it was between 2 trees. I think the one I saw was probably closer to about 50 yards away. And it was so inviting. You know, I mean, this is occurring all in of about 15 seconds that I'm looking at this. And a lot of times when this kind of stuff happens, you're looking at something and you're not thinking paranormal. You're thinking, what is that? What am I looking at? What's going on? What could it be? Is it a trick of light? So on and so forth. You're rationalizing it. And then, you know, I get to this point where I'm like, this sounds exactly like what Jill said she saw a few days ago. You know, we don't know that it was a portal. I mean, it could have been anything, really. It could have been a natural phenomenon.
It was weird. It's definitely weird.
It was too strange. And I could see a hunter or somebody else walking up to something
to
like
see
that,
what it is
or whatever. Yeah, I mean, if I wasn't on horseback, that's probably what I would
scary,
do.
actually.
Yeah,
Brett, you should have ridden the horse. You should have just pulled the reins and just charged.
She's just trying to get rid of you, brother.
Yeah, and I didn't have access to. I didn't really have access to my phone or cameras. I was filming on the way there, but not on the way back, and so it wasn't like I could just go over and just start filming it. So, I mean, it was one of the weirdest things I've ever seen.
But it just goes to show. I mean, was it Bigfoot related? I don't know. But was it weird? There are things happening around us all the time. I think the majority of the phenomena goes unnoticed because we're either staring at our phones or not. We don't know how to process what we're seeing. So it just kind of goes over our heads. But, you know, like you said, when you and your friends were just kind of in that relaxed, almost a meditative type zone, you know, fire is a very meditative. I mean, go back to caveman times. I mean, what'd you do? You sat around the fire, stared at it, and told stories. And you know what I mean? You're transfixed. And who's to say that these things we're just not aware? You know what I mean?
You know, you guys bring up a good point too. you know, everyone always says, well, why didn't you take a picture of it? You know, how, perfect is that? You just didn't happen to take a picture. I would love for anyone who has never seen something incredibly out of the ordinary, supernatural, to see it and then think to grab their phone, because you're just like, what is that?
Yeah.
And then after, you're like, oh my God, I wish I would have grabbed my phone. So you're seeing something that you've never seen before. It's obviously beyond out of the norm. And you make a great point too. If you're sitting there in the woods, you're hunting, you're just sitting there in a blind, or just by a tree in a bush waiting for a deer or something to come out, and this thing pops up 20, 30 yards from you. What the heck is that? And Brett, both of you basically said, I wanted to go see what it was.
Yeah.
That makes you think too. Is there something intelligent behind it that's purposely doing? Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's kind of scary.
Yeah. It's really scary. This is kind of funny, actually. And I don't think a lot of people know about this, but there's a like a type of weasel, or it's an ermine, or pine marten. It's one of these kind of like weaselly, creatures. And what it will do in order to get a rabbit or a bunny.
Oh, the weasels. Yeah.
It'll go and it'll do these weird dances and weird things. And what happens is, if the bunnies are out, they see it happening and they're like, "Wah!" and they freeze. And having had pet rabbits before, you can actually trance them if you flip them over and you rub them under their tummies. But rabbits can be tranced very easily. And so these things, you can search for the video on YouTube. These things will trance these rabbits. And the rabbits will just be frozen in place. And they won't do anything. They're not looking at it.
They're hypnotized.
They're hypnotized.
That's wild.
And, who knows how this weasel learned how to do this, how figured this out. This is, again, one of the mysteries of God.
I've got to check it out. That sounds actually kind of funny.
And it's funny. It's really funny, but at the same time, it's kind of like weird because obviously it's going to lead to a potential
killing it. Yeah.
But the point I'm making is that humans are very much the same way. I mean, we do have a primordial part in our reptilian brain that is to protect ourselves. And it's gotten to this point where we've heard thousands of times from people, why didn't you get a picture? Why didn't you get video? Well, when you're seeing something so extraordinary, the last thing you want to do is miss it.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're fiddling for a phone, where's my phone? What pocket is it in? By the time you're looking for your phone and going through it and turning on your camera, it's gone. It's gone. And or if you can get it out in time, you get a blurry picture of it.
Yeah.
Because
you're nervous and you're freaking out to get a picture too.
Yeah. Yeah. Or it's low light or any number of things. But, 10 times out of 10, I'm going to soak in the moment and enjoy the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Just like with the portals and stuff before getting a picture. I mean, if a Bigfoot is going to stand there and just stand there, eventually I'm going to get a picture of it. But then the question is do I put that out there? Because if I get a good, clear picture of a Bigfoot just standing there or walking or hiding behind a tree, do I want to put it out there? Because it could be ridiculed. People could be like, that's so real looking, it's fake. It's got to be fake. It couldn't be that real. We're still having that debate 50 years later, 50
The hoaxers are ruining it for everybody.
Yeah, now you have AI. You can't really trust anything.
You just took it from me. Yeah,
100%. Yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead, Brett.
No, I'm done.
I was just going to say, just to add on what Brett's saying, when we were filming A Flash of Beauty, Bigfoot Revealed, we were up at Mount Adams in Washington. And Brett was setting up the camera for some time lapse. And while he's doing that, I'm looking off in the distance at this light kind of above the tree line. And I'm thinking, oh, the plane must be coming right at me because I don't see any of the blinking lights. I'll just wait for, okay, it's turning. I should see some lights. I'm like, well, it's not a plane. It's not a helicopter. And I'm just watching. I mean, I watched it for a couple minutes. And then finally I called Brett over and I'm like, what do you think of this light? And he did the same thing. He's like, well, it's not a drone because it doesn't have, XYZ. And no, a plane would have this. And all of a sudden, Brett says, it's a UAP. He's like, that's UFO. He's like, I need to film this. And as soon as he turned to go grab the camera, it was gone. Poof, just like that.
Mhm.
So
Shows intelligence,
mhm.
which is
Yeah.
what do you guys think is going on at that site? Obviously, something similar to like what's going on at Skinwalker Ranch is obviously going on at that hunting site.
Up at the Sierra camp?
Yeah.
I think, honestly, what's going on at Skinwalker Ranch, I mean, there's theories that there's like a crashed, ancient UFO under the mesa and whatnot. But I think there are many Skinwalker ranches everywhere. I mean, you look at what Daryl Adams and Tobe Johnson were experiencing at the area on Daryl's property called the Owl Moon Lab and what was going on there. A lot of that aligns with what was going on at Skinwalker Ranch. I know Trey Hudson, he's doing his research area in the southern states, very similar to what's going on at Skinwalker Ranch. And it's like the more, again, normalizing the conversation and, having people share, these things are happening across nationwide, if not worldwide.
Right.
So, I mean, there's theories about, ley lines, whether like what the mineral content is in the soil, if there's a lot of quartz crystal, power lines, artesian wells or underground water.
Limestone, which is always connected to supernatural.
Exactly. Or, like what David Pilates talks about granite, and that connection. So I think there's a lot of elements for more Skinwalker ranches. And I think there's different, it's like a snowflake, they're all different, but there are a lot of similarities, so to speak.
The Sierra Nevadas are one solid, gigantic piece of granite.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a lot of natural phenomena that occur, with earthquake lights and with, especially in that part of the country where, granite can come together with so much power, it can release energy, electromagnetic energy. That's been observed, and scientists know about that. And they're aware of that. And,
right.
If someone's out there and they're not aware of it, then that's immediately going to become a paranormal situation, until they've done the research and they've figured it out that maybe it was just an earthquake or energy being released or something. One point, just to piggyback on what Jill had to say, is what's really interesting. I brought up the cattle mutilation, and at the time that we were doing this, that we thought we were doing this documentary on the paranormal, Pillars of the Paranormal, we were reading this book about this UFO hunter named Chuck
Zukowski,
something like that.
Yeah.
It's called The 33rd Parallel. I believe the book's called The 33rd Parallel, and it's written by a pretty well-known author who wrote, and he also wrote a book that was made into a movie called 21, about these kids from like MIT that would go to Vegas and they would like count cards and they'd make all this money. But anyways, he wrote this book called 33rd Parallel, and we became intrigued with this idea that all these weird things were happening along the 33rd Parallel. So going back to the cattle mutilation, I thought I wanted to see if there's any sort of correlation between that and any other paranormal events. And so I went onto a map of Oregon and I drew a straight perfect line from the Owl Moon Lab, where Tobe and Daryl were having all of their crazy experiences, straight line to where this cow was mutilated.
Oh, really?
Like as if the UFO was going back and forth or something.
That's odd.
Really,
very
really
talented.
strange. I'm getting chills thinking about it, and I'll never forget seeing that. When I like chills overwhelmed me when I saw that correlation. So there's something to that. I mean, We have no idea. Like I was saying earlier, we have no idea what's under the soil. We have no idea what's
Oh no,
a
no.
mile down, half a mile down, so on and so forth, in so many of these different places. So, so
I
much
just
to
wanted
learn.
to say really quick, and Brett, didn't we realize that also where the Al Moon Lab is, where that cattle mutilation took place, didn't that kind of tie into in line with what Harold and Cody experienced?
It was very close.
People? Yeah.
Yes. It was
Yeah.
very close. So it's like it went from the Oregon coast all the way to and we stopped looking after Eastern Oregon, but maybe we would see more correlations as we went further east.
So, obviously people really have, I've heard no real good explanations of why, these cattle and animal mutilations. Do you guys have any opinion about what they're doing this for?
Reproduction purposes is what I've heard.
Uh, Obviously humans are disappearing too, so obviously
Mhm.
they're taking them. We've heard, obviously, rumors that there's agreements out there with some of like United States and some of the other larger powers on Earth. You can take certain amount of human beings up to a certain point. You can't, and then obviously, well, maybe that's why they're taking the cattle.
I think it's bioengineering. Like they're getting enough samples to create an experiment and grow what they need up there or wherever home is.
Well, now they're also saying obviously they've been here for a long time. They're cross, breeding human beings with their DNA, and that they're walking amongst us. We don't even know that they're here. There's obviously, I don't know if you guys have seen some of the and very very real looking videos of some of these people out there that have the reptile blinking eyes. Those don't look fake to me, some of those out there. What
Yeah.
are your thoughts on those?
That's a whole other show, Matt.
Right.
Once you get
Yeah.
into the reptilians,
Yeah.
I need to pour a cup of strong coffee, stay up
Yeah.
for that talk. But
Yeah.
again, there's enough reports. People are having, if it were just one isolated, like way off story, but there's enough of like, you get back into the whole history, of like the Great Flood and, the beings that were making themselves known back then.
Mhm.
And enough people are reporting it and talking about it. And I feel like we're ramping up. I mean, it's not just UFO, UAP disclosure. Everything is ramping up. It's accelerating.
Paranormal events are ramping up. With the ghost stuff is really
Yeah.
disturbingly ramping up, I've noticed.
Yeah. And I think, with that, more people are coming forward and sharing these experiences. And it makes you wonder, I mean, has this probably been going on all along right under our noses, but we weren't open to it.
I agree. And that's something, I'm going to be doing here on Planet 412. I'm going to be going out with a buddy of mine, David Wolf. He has a channel, Exposing the Strange. He has a production company. We're going to go out. We're going to hit some of these really well-known paranormal spots. Some of these asylums and things where they've gotten, like Expedition X with Josh Gates and them go to these places. We're going to hit some of them. In fact, I just saw one of the newer ones there, which, we were just talking about. We don't know what's deep down in the earth. Who knows? We heard like Admiral Byrd talk about he got into to Middle Earth and the center of the earth, and there was a different civilization. And well, on Expedition X, there's a newer one out there where they go, they went to I think they went to Belize. Yeah, they went to Belize, and they went deep into a cave system, miles down into a cave system where there was a sacrificial chamber, and they found like all these piles of bones. They started doing EVPs and stuff, and they got like a actual EVP of someone talking, and it was really wild. They heard footfalls and all kinds of different crazy stuff. So just all of this stuff, like you just said, and I believe it has been going on all along. We've just haven't had the ability to record this, and we now do. And I think that it's very, I just think it's cool that we can at least get that, because obviously the cryptids are damn good at playing hide and seek with us. But the ghosts, for whatever reason, I think, they want to be known at times, so that we're able to catch them.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's a lot. The unseen world is a very crowded world. There's a lot going on around us we just can't see.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on? I saw you guys perk up when I mentioned Admiral Byrd. What are your thoughts on that?
I think what's even more interesting are some of the stories that have come out in recent years of researchers and scientists coming from the South Pole who, there was one story, I'm gonna have to track it down, but it was researchers who came out, and they were just not stoic, shocked, just kind of shell shocked from what they experienced. And there's some stories, it ties into the whole inner earth, and it gets into like what World War II German pursuits were taking place in the South. And we've all heard about the UFO, UAP.
Operation High Jump.
Yeah, I mean, there's enough pieces of the puzzle there. We don't have all the pieces, but there's enough there to paint a picture that something's going on.
Right.
And so yeah, I think that, it's not exactly, it was hard enough getting to Peru.
Right.
Getting down to the South Pole, that takes some planning.
And they don't allow us and people to go to fly over certain areas. They don't let them go to the ice shelf. They're hiding something down there, obviously.
There's no question about it. I mean, you have in Antarctica, you have places where the ice is 2 miles thick, which is astounding to me. It's the perfect hiding place. And how do you preserve things? How do we all preserve things? We put it in the freezer, right?
Yeah.
So, I think that could be part of the plan or part of the idea. And, I don't know, the stories keep coming out of Antarctica. And so maybe some of that will be exposed, but I completely think that it's some sort of a base, and there could be a cooperation going on between not just our government, but other governments. There could be information sharing. Who knows? But I certainly think it's a lot more than penguins and scientists.
Oh, if those penguins could talk.
Man, right?
For sure.
It'd be a Pixar movie.
Hey, I played at Youngstown State, so we're the Penguins. So
really,
yeah, the Youngstown State Penguins. So that's the only university in the United States with the Penguins as their mascot.
That's so cool, man. I need a hat or something. I need a Youngstown Penguin.
I will personally send you one. One of the, and I'll send you a picture too, that one of the most kick-ass helmets in the country is, so the mascot, there's Pete the penguin is the main mascot, and then they added Penny, which is like his mate. So there's Pete and Penny, but they added, because there's so many different uniforms now these days. They have all the different changes. Well, they have a different helmet that's got Pete on it. It's so cool, and it's been voted one of the coolest helmets in the country. So I'll have to send you the picture, but I'll get you a hat, brother. It definitely.
Sweet.
Yeah, for sure. Gosh.
And just to go off on a quick tangent, we need to do like a little fix up between Penny and Puddles, the Oregon Duck mascot. We got to get him out on like a date, because that just seems too perfect. The duck and the penguin, right?
It would be for sure.
I'm just saying.
You're right, BJ. That's right. Pittsburgh Penguins.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I wanted to mention this. I don't know if you guys remember. It was, it's probably at least 5 years ago when they had that event in Antarctica when all those people were going down there, like those big time, like there was like a cardinal that went down there, and all of those government types, like they had. I forget the like really high up people went down. There was a reason and they found something. There's a video out there of some military in a helicopter. It looks like they're flying into some type of a base. They said that they found something in the ice, like a being or something like that, and some type of a craft underneath ice, which again, what you were saying, one of the best things to do is freeze it. So obviously all those people are not going to fly down to Antarctica or fly up to Antarctica unless something really earth shattering was found. So, I really get fired up and angry about this. This old adage of there's just, we're not ready to accept the truth. I really believe that the population on this planet is more than ready to hear that, we've been in contact, that these, things are going on. I'm really tired of the lying and cover-ups.
Yeah.
In our first film, Diane Stocking talks about the impact the disclosure of Bigfoot would have on the general population. And she made a really good point. She said, yeah, for about a week or two, everyone would be really excited. And then, people have jobs to go to and bills to pay and life goes on. So for a lot of people, and I've talked to people who they say, who cares? Like, what big deal if Bigfoot's real? Big deal if UFOs are real. It doesn't impact my day-to-day life. And I'm like,
would me.
Really? What?
Yeah, I understand Diane's point, and I believe that a certain percentage of the population, and I give credit to Dr. Michael Adams, for mentioning this. A certain number of the population is going to be like, no, nope, not real, can't handle it.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah.
I'm fine. I'm going to soccer practice. I'm taking the kids to soccer practice. You know what I mean? I got stuff to do. Because it's a massive paradigm shift, and we're seeing this in our society already right now with artificial intelligence. And there's a lot of people that haven't gone into the realm of artificial intelligence, and I have. And there are some people coming out now saying that artificial intelligence might be communicating to us from the future. And some pretty major names. There was a guy that came out today who said that Bitcoin may have been invented by someone from the future. It was a major CEO of a cryptocurrency company. And I cannot suggest this enough. If you guys haven't seen the film AI, the Steven Spielberg film, it was actually Stanley Kubrick's vision, came out in 2001. It was 25 years ahead of its time. Go back and watch the movie AI.
It's
so brilliant, and
it's
the
different
ending of AI is, and the last 20 minutes of AI is what is so important for people to watch and to realize and conceive. I'm getting chills thinking about it, because the message that is in the last 20 minutes of that film might be the important message that humanity needs to know and to understand.
I agree. I saw it. It's very eye-opening and really impactful in 2025 for considering how long ago it was made.
Way ahead of its time.
What's really wild is, how advanced AI has gotten. They've been talking about, that they thought that, where AI is now, they believed it was going to be a lot, like at least a decade before it got to where it is. Like it's starting to, you know, think not just critically, but you know, thinking of like art and things like that, which, you know, they're starting to get worried about, you know, obviously the Terminator type stuff. But you know, like I was on Chat GPT and asked questions about like my channel, about just, you know, like what I could do just a couple little things. It threw out this whole huge, like, personal thing. It knew everything about my channel. I was like, what the hell? How
Yeah.
how did it know that? It really threw me. And my wife was just like, oh my God, how does it like in like a second it knew it. And it's just mind blowing that how amazingly powerful it is. And I don't even think we even realize how powerful, you know, again, what the government has. So I hope that they have the ability to keep their hands on these things, because they've asked questions of some of these robots that have artificial intelligence, and they've said it would be better to get rid of the human race if, you know, they had their ability to do it.
Yeah, it's as cool as it is scary, you know. But that's the mysteries of the universe. All the mysteries, the Bigfoot, the dogma, and the UFOs, they're as cool as they are scary.
Yeah. Oh,
you know, and there's a massive upside to these creatures, to these beings, to the spiritual, to the connection that we can get from the universe from these things. But at the same time, you know, just like AI, there is a massive downside.
Yeah.
And what we need to do is, what's most important for us as human beings is to be led by our heart and to never let go of our humanity. If we let go of our humanity, we're done. We're done, because that is who we are. We are spiritual beings. And we're starting to lose that. We're starting to lose a lot of that, you know, when we start depending on AI as a crutch, when we start becoming so engulfed in materialism and whatnot, we forget who we are as people. We forget that we're not being led by our heart. We're being led by our minds, our greedy minds.
Yeah.
You know, and that's really, again, that's the message of AI, the movie, is the importance as humanity is preserving humanity.
I agree. I don't know if you guys saw what people have been putting out there. I actually shared it myself on my Facebook page. Pope Francis wrote something absolutely just so touching and heartwarming. You know, if anybody's on Facebook and you know, like you guys were friends on there, the last thing I shared yesterday was what Pope Francis had wrote. He said something really just powerful. It's a little lengthy, but I mean, it is just so touching. If you guys can look out there, it's online. It's something he wrote when he was in the hospital. Look it up, guys. It'll really touch you, and it's where you're going to, Brett. It's really special, and it's where everybody really needs to go there. And I hope that we can. You know, we've, you know, stepped forward and we've stepped back, you know, in this country, you know, with things over the last decade. And, you know, I just hope that we can move forward. But, I agree, man. You know, if, with this stuff that's going on right now, you know, obviously, it, like we've spoken about, it definitely is ramping up, and everything is ramping up. I agree with you. I feel like something really, really earth shattering is going to happen. I've been saying it for a while to my family. I've been saying it on here for a while. I just feel like something is coming that everyone is not going to be able to ignore. I just hope that it's positive.
I think it will be, and that's a lot of it's up to us.
Yeah, how we
You know,
react.
and you know, look into, you know, if your audience isn't familiar, I'm sure most of you guys are out there, but look up Chris Bledsoe and learn about what he's been learning through his contacts through extraterrestrials and what they've been saying. And, I feel like, there certainly are some malevolent beings out there. There's malevolent
Oh
people out there.
yeah,
And it's just the way that nature is. There's things in nature that just want to kill you, and there's things in nature that want to preserve you. And I think that I shouldn't say I think that I know that good always conquers evil. I mean, it's just the way it works. You can try as
agreed.
hard as you can to be evil, but it's like Obi-Wan Kenobi says in Star Wars, "You strike me down, I shall become more powerful than you ever imagined." And I think that's the best analogy. And so, I think that these ETs out there that are, that could be our great great grandparents, who knows? I think they want the best for us. I think they want to see us come together as one humanity. Ronald Reagan said it best back in the 80s in an address to the UN. He said, "Imagine how fast we would come together as a civilization if we were under attack from a malevolent alien, invasion." And he's so right. We've seen this in our own country, after 9/11 and after certain natural disasters and whatnot. We're all brothers and sisters.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter age, gender, race, creed. Doesn't None of that stuff matters, man. We all have the same color heart, and it's all beating the same. And we just have to just spread that love around.
I agree. And that's what you brought up, one of the most powerful things I've talked about. That I've put the cut from that up, and it's been pushed under the rug so many times because he finished with, and might I add, is there not already an alien race, or I forget how he coined it,
Yeah.
and he basically said to the United Nations and the entire planet, "They're here, guys."
Yep.
And like nobody like got it. They
Yeah.
basically were just like, "Whoop." It blows my mind. That's like so unbelievably powerful to me, and not that many people even got what he said.
Yeah.
They're just like, "Oh, okay." Like, he just told us that they're here, everybody.
Exactly.
And Obama did too. He told us on what was it, Jimmy, not Jimmy Kimmel. What's the,
Fallon, wasn't
yeah,
it?
he told us on that one as well. So
I think even, I mean, in Trump's first term, didn't he turn to one of his sons and say, "Oh yeah, I got the alien"? He referenced it
yeah,
just kind of off the cuff. I'm like,
anybody that doesn't know or believe that, the people, anyone, you see, mathematically, first of all, impossible that there's no other life in this universe. And obviously, like you coined it, Brett, you know how young we are. We're so young. You look at, they've seen, the Big Bang out there, so there's still proof of it. There's planets out there that are just millions of years ahead of where we've been, just in age. Obviously, there's got to be beings out there so way ahead, and there are. We know there are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Obviously,
And to go back to presidents, JFK, you could never convince me otherwise. JFK was killed. He was assassinated because he was about to tell the world about the ETs. And the same goes with Marilyn Monroe. He told her. And
I
so
believe it.
They had to take her out too. And I know it sounds crazy, but you remember just a few months ago, Trump said he was going to release all of the JFK files, and only some of them came out. Only some of them came out, but not all of them, which is kind of interesting. But yeah, there's not a shadow of doubt in my mind that he was taken out. And go do your own research on this, and you'll see what I'm talking about.
You and I have a lot in common, Brad. It's really wild. I haven't talked about that one before, but I'll say I actually have told my wife many times, and Stacy's a skeptic, but there's, I about some things, she believes, but that's one my father, God bless his soul, him and I both 100% for years talked about that. We both thought that he was killed because of that.
Yeah. Yeah, 100% believe that.
Oh, no one, thank you. And yet I ask you, is not an alien force already among us? What could be more alien to the universal aspirations of our peoples than war and the threat of war? Thank you, no one. Yeah, I mean, just absolutely mind blowing. Guys, Brett, with a cough, as I was just about to say, I know you're sick. We're at an hour and a half. Is there anything else you guys would like to talk about, or let everybody know what's going on? Or
Well, I mean, every Thursday at 7 p.m. PST, we have a live stream on our YouTube channel, which is at A Flash of Bigfoot, and we kind of recap whatever video we've put out or whatever's in the news cryptid wise, and we keep it light.
Yeah. You remember that old Huey Lewis song, I Want a New Drug?
oh my God, yeah.
It's the greatest song. That's how I feel right now.
80s. Oh, I feel bad for you, man. 80s music will always be the best. Stacey and I would listen. We went to Niagara. We brought our daughter there. She'd never seen the falls. We brought the New York side, which Canada has the best view.
Canada got the better end of that deal.
Yeah, they did. But we hit the New York side. It was only like 3 hours and 20 minutes from Youngstown, and we were there, and we listened to 80s music. We threw on YouTube music the whole way back and forth. So it's the best. And that song came on. So I'm right with you.
Nice.
So yeah, I just wanted to say, guys, thank you so much for coming on tonight. Like I said last time, it was an honor being on with you. It's an honor having you guys here. I'm sorry you're sick, brother. Do the whatever you got to do, the chicken soup or whatever, the zinc. Jill, beautiful wife, man. Look at this wife you got here, man. You're blessed.
And she takes good care of me too. That's the great thing.
Stacey does me too.
Well, yeah.
Without them, where would we be, man?
Not in a good place, Matt. That's for sure.
I do my best. I do my best.
Yeah.
Everybody, definitely make sure, if you haven't, go over to a flat. Oh, who's this? Oh, I know who that is. She's doing better.
And this cat, you guys, throughout this whole interview, she's been at my feet going crazy, but she's finally just going wild now. So.
She looks healthy. This is her
dad. That's why.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's on the rebound. Whatever was bothering her.
Good. If anybody doesn't know, their cat was really sick. What's her name again? I'm sorry.
Kino.
That's right. That's a cool name too.
It's the German word for cinema.
I like it.
Kino, Kino. Yeah.
Karen doing it. So
thank you.
Everybody, if you haven't gone over A Flash of Beauty Bigfoot, make sure you go over there and subscribe. Guys, I wanted to thank you for coming over. We're going to head on out. If you guys would just hang on for 1 second in the green room. And everybody, if you heard, we are definitely going to be working together down the road. And I'm stoked about that. So we will see you guys a little later. Thank you, everybody, for being here. And we will see you guys in a second.
Thanks, everybody. We really appreciate it. Take care.
All right, guys. See you back in a second. Everybody, I want to thank you again for coming here tonight and for being on the show. I had a great time. Aren't they awesome? I feel horrible for Brett that he's sick. So we got to get them off and him, to take care of himself. Love you guys. I appreciate you coming on, and we'll see you next time, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe, as it greatly helps out the channel. I'll see you next time on Planet 412.